Hey, everybody, Saul Marquez with the Outcomes Rocket. I want to welcome you back to today's episode. I've got the privilege of hosting Rob Laumeyer today. He is the Chief Technology Officer at Auth AI at Availity, the nation's largest real-time health information network. He's a lifelong inventor and entrepreneur. Rob has over 33 U.S. patents under his belt. It's hard to file a patent, and the fact that you have 33 is awesome. Ranging across geoinformatics, navigation, space, embedded software development, and several other industries. Through the work that he's done in developing transformative products and services, he's created new categories of technology and sold companies or IP'd to industry giants such as Google Maps, SpaceX, Microsoft, HP, and many more. Now he's using his expertise in AI to help us in healthcare. So I'm excited to have him here with us today. Rob, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, all. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Rob, you obviously are a serial entrepreneur and inventor. What is it that attracted you to healthcare?
It's funny. I think everyone has a story, but mine it really relates to personal friends who ran into some troubles with the healthcare system. I have a sister who's an MD. Knock on wood, I've been healthy most of my life, so I'd never really given it a lot of thought. That was what my sister did. I didn't need to play in her sandbox, but it's sad how bad technology in healthcare is. And I'd come out of some places where it's pretty good. And I was really just stunned at the inability to move data through systems and make good decisions. And I wanted to help that. I'm not, I also have a sister who's a nurse. She can sit with someone and make them feel comfortable in an instant. That's not my skill set, but I have a skill set that I can help people with and doing the things that I'm good at. And I like that. It's fun. I've done a lot of different things, as you said, been successful at a few of them. And it's really nice, though, to be able to help people with the skills that I have. And I always tell my team, it's Aunt Lydia that we're helping. It's imaginary Aunt Lydia. She's got a bad hip and she wants to go to Thanksgiving with the family, but she doesn't want to be a burden on the family. She doesn't want to have steps installed for a wheelchair and everybody making accommodations for her all day. She wants to just enjoy that. And we can help do that. And that's kind of why I'm here to help Aunt Lydia's and get them the health care that they need.
That's awesome. Help us understand Auth AI. What does the company do to add value to the healthcare ecosystem?
Yeah, what we're really focused on is fixing prior auth. Prior auth is one of those awesome things that both the payers and the providers both hate, but it's a necessary check and balance, right? You can't have systems without a check and balance. It just never works. There's too many bad actors, unfortunately, in the world. Spoils it for everybody. And what we're able to do is we're able to treat patients as individuals, go in and objectively determine how sick you are and do you meet the medical necessity rules or not, and then move you through the prior auth system where we can, usually it's a 2 week wait. Frequently, we can give you the answer in less than 60 seconds. And that's a big difference. Can get it scheduled instead of having to go home. Imagine you've been told you have a problem and you have to wait 2 weeks to get a test to find out if you actually have that problem, whether it's cancer or whatever it is. That's stress. That's real stress. That's stress on you, on your family, on everybody. And so being able to go in and close that loop and get that patient authorized or get the provider understanding why they weren't authorized. There's more information necessary, or we haven't tried these conservative treatments yet and we don't see evidence of it. So maybe they just need to get the evidence for that, or do those conservative treatments before this patient's really ready to get this kind of treatment. And being able to do that quickly, taking that stress away from people when they're most, scared and unable to help themselves. That's what our system does. We do a fast, objective prior auth, treating you as an individual.
What is it that allows you guys to do prior auth so much faster? What was the
We
difference?
really took a step back when we started and worked with the doctors and the nurses who had done it in the past. We wanted to do it the same way. I'm a big believer that AI needs to be traceable and observable. We're held to a different standard, Saul, than humans are. If I'm right across from a giant university, about 60,000 students. Every day on University Avenue, there's going to be 2 or 3 accidents there. Nobody is surprised at that because humans are not great at things. And the drivers going in and out are thinking about class and work and everything but driving and Instagram, whatever, right? But when a Tesla went through that intersection and hit somebody on auto driving, right? That's international news if that happens. Right.
Yeah.
It's a different level. And so knowing that, we went into the system saying, listen, we can't make a perfect system. I wish we could, but we can't. But we've got to make a system that if it does make an error and when it does, that it's traceable and observable and doing things in the way that the nurses and doctors would do it the exact same way. So we read the medical record just like a nurse would, except for much faster. That's the other thing is, unfortunately, in prior auth, it's an expense, right? It's an administrative expense. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the humans to go faster than they can really do it. If you have a 70-page medical record, you can't read that in 15 minutes and make a decision about that patient. It's not physically possible. You can scan it really well and you can use some rules of thumb, but my computer system, we can actually read the whole document, know the current state of that patient, and then apply the rules objectively of whether they meet the criteria that are necessary. That's really how we do it differently is we do it the same way the doctors do. We read it, we look to see if you meet the criteria based on the criteria that they've published, that we've brought into our real medical language information. We take the clinical notes and we put those in that, and then we just match them up. It's a simple matching process then, and we show where there's not a match. And by doing it like the nurses do it, they used to have check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark going down a spreadsheet kind of thing. And we do it very similarly so that they can see when we don't get enough information, which is quite a frequent occurrence. There's just not enough information in the medical record. And so we have to pend it over to the humans. We can show, listen, these are the things that we were able to find. Here's the things we're not able to find. Now you got to go find those out, suss them out from where they are or get that more information. But it's the same process. We're just getting them a jump start on that part of the process. And so that's really what's different about our system. And I think that's really important that other systems should operate like that. We don't go in and do a bunch of regression tests, right? I worked in finance there. If you're 52% accurate, you're going to make yourself rich. If you're 60% accurate, you're going to make your boss a billionaire. That's great in finance, but 60% accuracy in healthcare, I don't want that system treating me or my family members or anybody, right? That's just not good enough. And so we really need to hold ourselves at a higher level. And that's what we're able to do by making this observable and traceable and doing it the same way that the nurses and doctors who used to do it now, and giving them that next start of the ones that we can't complete. Because that also happens. We also have to be humble about, can we get all the way there? Like, I would love to solve every problem in healthcare, but I can't. My team can't. We got a great team, but we can't get there, right? And we have to be humble enough to say, okay, these are ones that we just don't know. Let's pass them on to the humans, let them make that determination.
That's awesome. No, I appreciate that, Rob. Thanks for highlighting the process that you guys used. In healthcare, we don't have enough people, and we
Yeah.
need AI to bail us out of some of the administrative burdens that is really holding a lot of us back, the system back, keeping costs high. So certainly, Rob, thank you for highlighting that. As you built or are building this company, what's been a setback that you've observed, and how have you guys learned from it as a result?
Yeah. We would really love to go in and be able to just grab information from the EHRs, the EMRs, whatever you want to call them, and get that out. It's hard. It's doable, but it's so hard that we weren't able to do it at scale. Because every single system has been customized differently, and the documents are stored here or the documents are stored there. They're in a different system entirely, and you can't access it. And that inability to get immediately reach into the EMR and grab out the best data that's there, and still having to rely on the people to give us that data is disappointing to me. We can do it, we just can't do it fast enough and at scale, and that's the problem. We know how to do it. The problem is it's just not replicable at scale, and that's both disappointing and a failure that we had. Kind of a success because we worked really hard to do it on the places that we did it. It's just we couldn't do it fast enough to really make it, here's something we can do across the country and immediately have everybody getting the best information that they have in their systems.
Hmm.
So that was something that it really points to how fragmented uh, healthcare's IT stack is, and how inter- non-interoperable it is. And hopefully that's going to change. Hopefully people are moving towards that. Unfortunately, some of the vendors are monetarily motivated to not make that the case. Uh, Took a long time and the rest of computer science to get things to talk to each other, and they still don't always do it very well, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes there's money at play instead of common good. It's one of those places where I hope the government continues to kind of put their thumbs on the scale and try to help some of that by mandating interoperability where they can. I'm not a huge fan of the government trying to help because they kind of sometimes also limit what the top level things that you can do is. Good intentions don't always quite get you all the way where you want to get to, but it's one of those areas where we need more transference of data and easier, and that's just something that I failed at and would really, really love to have that better because I think patients would be better served if we had better data. My data is with me. I'm going to take it to the doctor every time I go, all of my data, because they need the best information about my little healthcare problems that I might have.
Yeah. No, Rob, I appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, pulling the data out is hard. Has there been ways that, the company's been able to say, all right, at least we have a systematized approach that we could do it anyway?
There is, and really what we find is that the providers are really motivated to give us the best data. And so what we found is that they're really used to having to do it manually.
Okay.
And by doing it, by giving them an electronic to electronic system where we take out the fax machine and reduce the readability, and also you missed page 25 of 70, because the fax
Hmm.
machine ate it or whatever, and then it printed poorly on the all that. Just having digital transmission of that data has really been a huge boon to getting high fidelity information that we can then transfer and read essentially with our NLP systems.
What's one of the biggest wins you've helped your customers achieve?
It's really, we did over 1 million prior auth last year for first customer, and we did all of those in under 90 seconds. Uh, if you're familiar with prior authorization, being able to, at the provider side, being done, right? You're done. You've got the auth code, you put it into the EMR, and you're done with that. You're moved on to your next task. You're not on the phone and on the web portal for the next 2 weeks checking status on it and hoping that it comes through. Just being completely done because you sent in good information. So the providers love that. And that's exciting, right? Because you got to give, we're paid by the payer, by the health plan, but the provider has to get something out of the process if you want them to do stuff, and being able to deliver some real good news and good completely objective opinions to the providers. The other thing, people when they're looking at things, hey, my dog bit my bit me on the way out the door, and my husband yelled at me, and so I'm in a bad mood, and so maybe I'm not going to give the absolute best opinion today, but the computer can do that. And so that 1 million plus prior authorizations that we did for the first customer, that's awesome. That's a lot of Aunt Lydias out there
Oh man,
walking around with better hips and knees and getting their tests done, approved quickly and ready to go.
that's huge. Well, Rob, listen, I really appreciate you sharing these success stories, the challenges, and really the big opportunities that many of the listeners have in really implementing a prior auth system like the one you offer. If folks want a chance to connect with you and learn more, where can they reach out to you?
I think anywhere at availity.com or on my LinkedIn is great. I think the other thing that I'd like to say is that, really AI is overpromised 20 times in my career. This time it's different. AI can kind of work, but as consumers, we need to demand that we get traceable and observable systems from our vendors. We need to get systems that we understand how they work and treat patients as individuals, because you might be the next patient or your loved one might next be the next patient. And as we're working with vendors, and this goes for Availity and for everybody out there, we need to really hold people accountable to create systems that do exactly what nurses and doctors do. we do need to free up the nurses. You're absolutely right. I walked into a room the size of a football field in one health plan where they were doing prior authorization. Being able to take those people and turn them from nobody goes into nursing to be a paper pusher. Nobody does, right? They got stacks of paper on both sides. You can barely see them. They look like gophers in there. Nobody wants that experience. They want to be nurses. They want to help people, and being able to free those people up. That's exciting, and I think it's one of those things that we can really push forward. And so, if you're buying something from Availity, that's great. I'm not a salesperson, but you know, it doesn't matter who you're buying it from. Make sure you understand how the AI works. Don't let us go through another era of bad AI. Make push your vendors, ask vendors questions. If they can't show you how it works, it doesn't work like you want it to work.
Thank you, Rob. That is a strong call to action, my friend. And folks, let's take a note from Rob. He's been around the block a couple times, worked with AI. It's worked. It hasn't worked. And ultimately, I think there's a lot to be said for this traceability and transparency that he's advocating for. Let's ask for that. Let's demand for it. Rob, can't thank you enough for spending time with us today. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure's all. Thank you for having me.